that I will be discussing in this lecture is positivism and its critique or criticism. Okay, this will be the topic that we will discuss, and we will discuss it in detailed manner. So, before beginning the lecture, I will just tell you that what I will teach in today's lecture. First of all, I will teach about history of positivism. Second, main views of positivism. And third is criticism of positivism. And in criticism, I will be talking about two type of people. First is non-positivist, and second is anti-positivist. Here I will be talking about interpretivism, and here I will be talking about phenomenologists and postmodernists are phenomenology and postmodernism. Okay, so this I will discuss in today's lecture, and that too in complete detail. Okay, in complete detail. So before going into the depth, as I always say, that you should keep following things in mind. First is many of the things, many of things that I will discuss in today's lecture, they will be repeated, they will be repetitions. Okay, because I already have discussed them in previous videos. Previous videos already discussed, but I will be repeating them once again in this videos because this topic, positivism and its critique, it is very much interrelated with uh, criticism, critique of scientific method and sociology and science. So this topic, the topic of today is interrelated with this topic. So many things will be repeated. So be patient, don't get bored. Second thing is that many new terms I will explain in the video itself. And third is many new terms I will just mention. Okay, terms or you can say studies I will just mention, but will explain in later videos. Okay, so this you should keep in your mind before watching my video. Now let's begin without wasting any time. So first of all, we will begin with history of positivism, or you can say background of positivism. Background of positivism, or you can say emergence of positivism. So in this, you know that. There was a period in history known as Enlightenment period, as I already have talked about it in Emergence of Sociology. So Enlightenment period, which was from around 1650 to 1800, and in this period, the major ideas that emerged in social sciences were some of the major ideas. First is concept of God's plan for society, or the concept of divine society was challenged. So this concept was challenged. Earlier, people believed that God has a plan for society, and if feudalism, for example, is changed by capitalism, then it's a plan of God. Okay, and we cannot reject it. We have to accept it because it's a plan of God. Because society runs on the will of God. But this concept was challenged, and it was said that no, it's not the plan of God, but there are certain laws of society that govern social changes. So society changes according to certain laws of society, or laws of, you can say, human behavior, which run the society. Okay, so it is not the God's plan. These are the laws of society itself. Second, they said that earlier it was believed that God's plan cannot be discovered by human beings. Okay, so only God knows. Only God knows best. Okay, but this was challenged, and it was said that these laws of society or human behavior are discoverable. That is, human being can discover these laws. Okay, through research or scientific study. And the third important idea was that discovering discovering these laws of society, we can improve the society, and we can bring productivity, prosperity, and happiness. Okay, so in the society we can bring in happiness, productivity, prosperity, etc. Okay, so these were the three major concepts related to positivism that emerged in the period of enlightenment. This was actually a kind of stage was set for the arrival of positivism, arrival of the concept of positivism. First is that laws of society exist, society changes on the basis of these laws, or society remains constant on the basis of these laws. Second, these laws are discoverable, and third is that using these laws we can bring in productivity, we can bring in prosperity, we can bring in happiness. This was the background. Okay, so in this background, certain positivists that emerged were, as I already talked about this, Auguste Comte. Okay, so Auguste Comte, also known as the father of sociology, he was he was the first positivist, we can say. And he actually gave the term positivistic philosophy. That is why he gave it the name positivistic philosophy, or positivism, because he said that if we will find these laws, okay, then we can bring in positivity in the society, and we can remove all the negativity. Negativity means like poverty, crime, okay, etc. We can eliminate these activities, and we can bring in prosperity. So how we can do this? We can do this with the help of positivistic philosophy. What this positivistic philosophy is, we will discuss in this video later on. So second was Durkheim, Emile Durkheim. So Emile Durkheim, he also talked about positivism. Okay, he was also a positivist, and he also believed that yes, sociology is a science, and scientific method we will use in sociology. Okay, so he and Auguste Comte was a little, there was a little bit difference between both that we will discuss in detail when we will study Auguste Comte or Emile Durkheim. When we will begin with thinkers, I will discuss these concept of Emile Durkheim and concept of Auguste Comte and concept of social facts. That I will discuss when I will talk about Auguste Comte in detail in the thinkers section. Right now, I am just throwing the terms. Okay, just mentioning that Auguste Comte is a social positivist, Emile Durkheim is a positivist, and they were the product of these two sociologists were the product of the Enlightenment period. Okay, Enlightenment period itself. So this is the background for the emergence of positivism. Now the second point is that we will discuss what positivism is. Okay, so let's begin. What positivism is? What is positivism? Okay, so we will deal with this topic after we have dealt with history of positivism. No, I will be dealing with this positivism step by step. So our first point about what is positivism is that according to this positivism, the subject matter of sociology. First is subject matter. Okay, so the positivists they say that what should be the subject matter of sociology. Okay, so positivist Emile Durkheim and Auguste Comte they say that yes, the subject matter of sociology will be social facts. So this is first point of positivism that according to positivists or according to positivism, subject matter of sociology should be social facts. Now, what are these social facts according to Auguste Comte? I will briefly mention here. Okay, I will deal it in later videos in detail. Auguste Comte, social facts are those facts. What is first? You should know that it is fact. Fact is like objective reality that I explained in previous video. That it is of over independent from our opinions. Okay, our opinions, our bias, etc. does not influence these things. So Auguste Comte said that sociology will study only social facts which are observable that we can observe with our eye. Okay, which are observable, visible, which we can see with our eyes, we can observe, which we can calculate, which are predictable, which are measurable. Okay, sociology will only deal with these social values. Emile Durkheim was a little bit different. Okay, his views was a little bit different from Auguste Comte because he said that this point visible or directly observable is not required. He said that there are certain non-materialistic non-materialistic social facts like collective consciousness, solidarity, etc., which we can also study, though they are not directly observable or visible. So, August Comte was different from Emile Durkheim was different from Comte on this very point that according to Emile Durkheim, we can study certain social facts which are like solidarity or collective consent, which are non-materialistic, which are not directly visible because you cannot see solidarity. Okay, you can just feel it, but you cannot see, you cannot directly observe. But still, we can study according to Emile Durkheim. Sociologists can study those social facts. Okay, by treating them as things by treating them as things. Okay, uh, but this we will discuss in detail when we will study Emile Durkheim. Okay, but overall the subject matter according to positivism is social fact. For example, Emile Durkheim studied division of labor. Okay, and second he studied suicide rates, and these both of these were social facts because suicide rates, they do not depend upon an individual opinion. Okay, they do not depend upon our individual opinion. And similarly, division of labor, whether division of labor will happen or not, an individual opinion cannot change that. Okay, suicide rate will increase or decrease independent of our view whether they should increase or whether they should decrease. If 1% or 2% or 100% they decide that they will not commit suicide, it will not impact suicide rates because suicide rates are social facts and these are external to the individual that you will understand when we will discuss in detail. Okay, so the second point is goal or aim of positivists. According to positivists, the goal or aim of sociology is finding laws of human behavior. Okay, so this is the goal. Okay, of sociology according to positivists, that we will find the laws of human behavior, and then after finding these laws we can we will run the society according to these laws. Whatever will be good for society we will mm, promote that, and whatever will be bad for society we will reject that. Okay, so the third point is that method, what method should be used to attain this goal. Okay, the goal is finding laws of human behavior, but what method we should use to obtain this goal? So positivist says that first we will use scientific method. Okay, they say that we will use scientific method, and in scientific method we, as we know that we collect data, and therefore what we will collect, we will collect quantifiable data. So we will use quantitative techniques. One second. We will use quantitative, just one second. We will use quantitative techniques like structured interview, questionnaire, This I am just throwing the terms. Okay, questionnaire, social survey, structured interviews, questionnaires, social surveys, statistical statistical approaches, or data, etc. Okay, they say that what method we will use. We will use scientific method. What techniques we will use. We will use quantitative techniques, like this structured interview, questionnaire, empirical data, social survey. Why we will use these? Because these methods, this is this third point we were discussing, methods. This is these methods, they have greater reliability and validity also. Okay, so what is reliability and validity, we will discuss in some other video. This is the third point. Okay, now the fourth point. The fourth point is, like in third point they said that we will use scientific method. The fourth point, they say that yes, we can use scientific method. Okay, so here is, they say that why can we use scientific method? Why can we use scientific method? They have just answered this question. They say that we can use scientific method because the relation between individual and society, or you can say social world, is similar to the relation between matter, natural matter, and nature. Okay, so the relation between, just there is a relation in natural sciences between natural matter and natural world. Similarly, in society, the relation between individual and social world is very much similar to that relation. For example, they say that society shapes the behavior of an individual. I have already discussed this point in detail in my previous video. Okay, society shapes in an individual. Okay, how? So in society we have social facts that are external to individual, and here we have individual. This individual is passive. According to positivists, this is passive receptor. Okay, he is predictable because he simply follows the rules, or he simply follows the social fact. He is predictable, he is rule bound, he follows the rule laws. Okay, this individual responds to external stimuli. Okay, simply responds to external stimuli. He is not influenced by his personal means, moods, motivation, etc. Who says this? The positivists say this about the relationship between individual and society. They say that the relation between individual and society is similar to the relation between natural world and matter. Okay, natural matter. The relationship is very much similar. Therefore, we can use scientific method. We can use quantitative techniques on the individual, just like we use scientific method on the matter, because matter has no free will. Okay, and we can predict the behavior of matter when an external stimuli is given. Just like I always give the example that if water temperature of water increases 100 degrees Celsius, then we can predict that now water will boil, and the water will boil. Okay. Similarly, if we have found a law of human society, if we have found a social fact or a rule, then we can say we can predict the behavior of the individual, that yes, no individual will do this. For example, if there is a rule that red light, if there is red light in traffic signal, then we can predict that now individual, the social actors, they will stop their vehicles, and we find that yes, people stop their vehicles. Okay, so this is the fourth point of positivism. Okay, now the fifth point is assumption. So what are the basic assumptions of positivism? So the assumption of positivists are, first is, they say that objective reality exists. Okay, this is their first assumption. And what is objective reality, I have explained in previous video. Okay, so B is the second assumption is, they say that objectivity can be maintained by the sociologist in his research. Okay, so I have explained what objectivity is in brief, and I will, there is a complete different topic. Okay, so objectivity, facts, value, and objectivity, and in that we will discuss it in detail. This is again, I am throwing a term. Okay, objectivity, simply objectivity means that all the views of sociologists, the context of sociologists, the caste, class, ideology of sociologists, the religion of sociology, etc., should not influence his research. This sociologist should be neutral, impartial, etc. Just like we say that if a civil servant should be neutral, should be impartial. Okay. Similarly, a sociologist should be neutral while doing his research. Okay. So the positivists say that yes, sociologists, they can remain objective while doing their research. They can remain objective. How this is possible? Because it is very difficult to maintain objectivity. But positivists say that this is possible because technology has grown so far. So, for example, when we will select sample, we will use computer and we will do random sampling. Okay, so in this sampling, the individual's value will not come into the random sampling, because this will be purely based on computer. Okay, so the technology has grown so much, so objectivity can be maintained. And similarly, they say that when we will use quantitative techniques, the facts or the discrete data, the statistical data will speak for itself. Okay, so individuals value will not come into that situation. Okay, this is their assumption. The sixth important point or important view of the premise of positivist, that is, what is the premise of positivist, what is the main principle, that is objective understanding of objective reality. This is simply the explanation of about assumptions. That is, they assume that an objective reality exists, and what is their goal? That is objective understanding. We can objectively understand an objective reality. Okay, this was their sixth point. So this is what positivism. What is the history of positivism and what positivists or believe? Okay, so these are 6 points of positivism. Now we will go for criticism. Criticism of positivism. Okay, so first of all, what we will do, we will discuss the view of non-positivists. So I already mentioned that in criticism we have two type of people. One are non-positivists, okay, and the other are anti-positivists. So what is the difference between both? Look, non-positivists, they say that scientific method alone is insufficient. Okay, insufficient, but it is desirable. But desirable. Scientific method should be used, but it alone is insufficient. It means we have to use other method also. We have to use other methods also. Okay, like Weber. We know that Weber gave. Verstehen method. But anti-positivists, they say that no, scientific method cannot be used in in sociology. Okay, they scientific method, and they, okay, scientific method means positivism. They say that positivism, they completely deny positivism. Okay, they deny positivism, they completely reject positivism. Okay, but these people non-positivists, they are not completely against positivists, but they say that yes, scientific method can be used as positivists say, but apart from that other methods also need to be used. So who are these non-positivists? These non-positivists are, there are two type of people. One are interpretivist, or which we call symbolic interactionist, and second is Weberians, who follow Max Weber. Okay, these two people. And who are anti-positivist? We have postmodernist and we have phenomenology. Okay, now I will just make a table, and first I will discuss non-positivist. So I will use different color. This will be my important part. These are positivists. Okay, these are interpretivists. Interpretivist, and in this interpretivism I will discuss Weberian perspective within the interpretivist itself. Okay, so let me use the other term. Let me use the term of non-positivist. Okay, these are non-positivists. So on one side we have positivist, on one side we have non-positivist. So our first point was goal. Our first point was subject matter. Wait, just wait. Our first point was subject matter. Our second point was goal or aim of research. Our third point was method to be used. Our fourth point was relationship between individual and society. Individual and society. Okay, relationship between individual and society. Our fifth point was assumption. Assumptions. Our sixth point was premise. Okay, so here we will just compare both, and you will it will be clarified to you what is the difference. This is the subject matter is social facts. The goal is finding laws of human behavior. Third is method is scientific method plus quantitative techniques. And individual and relation, the relation between individual and society is individual behavior is shaped by social facts. Okay, or society. Assumptions were objective reality exists, and uh, objectivity can be maintained. And our premise was objective understanding of objective reality. Okay, this we already did. So I am going very slow in this video. If you are getting bored, you can just increase the speed of the video. So here our subject matter is social action. Okay, so non-positivists say that we have to study social action. Now what is social action? Social action is one which depends upon our thoughts, our means, our motives, our moods, etc. So a social action is an action done by an individual taking into consideration the expectations of others in this society. So whenever we do an action and we take into consideration that what people will say, what people will think about it, or what our values are, what are the values of the society, what are the meanings. Okay, when we will be influenced by your internal stimulus, then that action will be called as social action. So according to non-positivists, the subject matter of sociology is social action and not only the social facts. Okay, so second is that so let me just erase it. Okay, this is their social action is their goal, that the goal should be social action. Okay, not the goal, the subject matter should be social action. Okay, for example, here the example is, here Durkheim studied suicide rates. Okay, whether suicide rates are increasing or decreasing depending upon other social factor like integration, when integration will happen in society, or when the regulation is more in the society, so what will be the impact on suicide. Okay, but here uh, their goal is studying social action. Social action means their goal is studying the meanings, moods, motivations, etc., which are not directly observable. Okay, which are not directly observable. So this is against the concept of social fact of positivism. So they say that our goals are studying these things, that why an individual, these things which exist in individual's mind, that why an individual act in a particular manner. Okay, so our goal should be studying these things which are in individual's mind. So, for example, I was giving example Douglas. You can mention just the theories of Douglas. Okay, the theory of suicide by Douglas. So, when Douglas studied suicide, he studied meanings. What meanings people give to suicide? Meanings people give to suicide. That is why a individual commits suicide. Like certain people, they escape from the harsh realities of life when they fail. So when they cannot face the reality, then they use an escapist suicide, that is they commit suicide. Sometimes certain people, they see suicide, they give the meaning of solution to the suicide, that their life has reached to such a stage where there is no solution to their problem, and the only solution to their problem is suicide. For example, when farmers cannot give mm, loan, cannot give back their loans, they commit suicide, because suicide is the only solution. So they give the meaning of solution. Certain people give the meaning of revenge. Okay, certain people commit suicide because they think that by committing suicide they will take revenge from their lovers, because they will make their lovers or their family members guilty, because they will feel throughout their life they will feel guilty because they have lost someone who they loved. Okay, so they give the meaning of revenge. So like this, people give different meanings. So you can mention just this example of suicide. The second point is, again I will have to erase. Okay, I'm going to very slowly in this video. You can just what you can do, you can just increase the speed of the video. I will suggest that, because I am going very slowly and in very detailed manner. This was their subject matter. Second is the goal. So what is the goal of these interpretivists? According to interpretivists, the goal should be their goal is the goal is same, that is finding laws of human behavior. The goal is same, okay, finding laws of human behavior. But what are the methods? The methods are different, okay. The methods are different. The goal is same, that finding laws of human behavior. But within this goal, there one thing I would mention, that their approach is different, because here they study only what is visible, but here they will try to study what is not visible, like means, that I already mentioned. So goal remains the same. Third is the method. So what is the method? So they prefer qualitative method. Qualitative method, okay. Who? Interpretivist. Interpretivist will prefer qualitative method, and these Weberians, they will prefer scientific method, that is quantitative method plus qualitative method, that is they try to use both the methods, that is we have to use quantitative as well as qualitative method. This is said by Weberians, okay. So overall we can say that there is a focus of non-positivist on qualitative methods also. So what are these qualitative methods? First I will explain the qualitative methods here. I will mention some qualitative methods. Qualitative methods are, as the term says, these are subjective methods. Okay, subjective method in which there is certain subjectivity. For example, interview, not structured interview, just loose interview. Okay, so participant observation method, participant observation method. These are just two examples. Okay, for example, in participant observation method, you can mention about the street corner society. Okay, this is a beautiful book as well as the study of a sociologist. Okay, so the second is, you can mention the example of Sudhir Venkatesh. I am just throwing in the studies, the case studies. You will discuss with these in some other video. You can mention Sudhir Venkatesh study of criminals, and you can mention this famous study, street corner society. Okay, so they use qualitative method like participant observation, like interview. Okay, so one question that can be asked, that why they study these qualitative methods. Like here we said that the relation, because the relation between individual and society is, individual behavior is shaped by social factors. So we will discuss it in next slide. Okay, so here positivists, what said they said that individual is shaped by social facts. That's why we will study, because individual is passive, and so we will study using scientific method, we will study using quantitative method. But here I will mention very important personalities. Okay, so here, why qualitative methods. First we will discuss about the perspective of Weber, that is Weberian. So Weber will say that yes, we have to study qualitative methods, because our subject method is social action and not social fact, and social action is influenced by a person's means, moods, and motivations, and these are subjective things. These are things that exist in person's mind. So we have to study these things, and we have to use qualitative methods. So what method Weber suggested? He suggested Verstehen method also. Verstehen in addition to scientific method. So this was the reason given by Weber, that individuals, they are not simply rule bound, they don't have free will. So they depend, they have certain moods, motivation. Based on them, they can deny an external stimuli, okay, and they can act according to the time and space, okay. Second is the view of interpretivist. So they say that we have to use qualitative methods because, for example, I will first use the example of Erving Goffman. Erving Goffman. So Erving Goffman gave a famous theory called or perspective called dramaturgy. Dramaturgy. Okay. So this Goffman, he said that we cannot use scientific method because interpretivists say that we only have to use qualitative method. Okay, we cannot use quantitative method. So Erving Goffman says in his theory of dramaturgy that people this world is a stage, is a type of stage. The social world is a social stage, and everybody in this world is performing a performance, is giving a performance. There are two types of life. People live two or many types of lives. For example, people there is a concept of backstage and there is a concept of front stage. Okay, front stage, that on the stage, that is in the front of people, people give a performance, give a performance, okay, that and in the backstage people have another performance, okay. There is here in the backstage people live a true life, okay, but here people give a performance, okay. This performance can be different from this performance. For example, let us take the example of a teacher. So teacher give a performance, example, teacher. So what teacher is doing, he is giving a performance in school as a teacher. He is just acting as being a teacher. In true life, he can hate the job of teaching. Okay, he can hate the job of teaching or he can love the job of teaching. But in front stage, he will show that yes, he is loving the job of teaching. That means he has multiple faces. Okay, people like you, when this teacher will go to home, he will act in the front of his children as a father. So father is a performance. When he is with his friends, so being a friend, it is a performance. When he is with his girlfriend, so there he will behave in a different manner. So this person, the same person, is giving different performances in different positions in different areas of the stage. So on the front stage, that is in front of people, he gives one performance, and in the back stage, he is altogether a different person. He can be the same person, okay, he can be the same person or he can be a different person. So his performance, if I'm mentioning it here, okay, just let me take the different color. So if his performance at the front stage matches with his true life, okay, that matches with his performance the backstage, then his performance will be called genuine performance. All these are the views of Erving Goffman, or this is dramaturgy. If the question comes on dramaturgy itself, you can write about this. And if his view, if his performance in the front stage is different or opposite to the performance in the back stage, okay, it means if he is a hypocrite, then his performance will be known as cynical performance. Now, Irving Goffman says that we cannot use quantitative method, we cannot use scientific method, because if we use scientific method, these sociologists they direct will be directly observing this performance of the individual, because they will not go into the personal life of the individual, what the individual is in personal life. If they are studying the behavior of teacher, they will simply go and study the behavior of teacher through questionnaires, and they will ask them question, and these people will be give a cynical performance to these positivists, and these people they can it means they can lie, okay. They are not showing their true performance, they are not showing their genuine performance, All the research of the positivist will be based on cynical performance, which will not give us truth. Okay, this will not be truth, because this is truth, and this is not studied by, this is not studied by positivists, not studied by positivists in quantitative method. Okay, but if we use if we use qualitative methods like participant observation. Okay, participant observation. So what happened in participant observation, the sociologist, he himself become a member of that society. He lives there within these people, hidden for many years. This participant observation research happens for many years, 2 to 3 years it can take. Okay, the sociologist lives with these people. So the sociologist, he will live with these people. He will observe front stage, he will observe backstage performance of the people. He will follow them in every area of life, and then he will give his result of the study, and his view, his result will give us the genuine performance, will be based on genuine performance, and this will give us the truth about the behavior of the people. So this is the concept of Irving Goffman's dramaturgy. Similarly, similarly, you will mention in this point itself, interpretivist view, that why interpretivist view, that why we should use qualitative method. Second person is the second people are those who use labeling theories. So there is a concept of labeling theory, that in this labeling theory says that people respond to label. When we give label to a people, when we brand people, then people respond to this label. Okay, so then there comes in a concept of self-fulfilling prophecy. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so people's behavior depends upon this label. People behavior depend upon this label that society gives to them. According to this labeling theory, a people's behavior, or you can say people's identity, depends upon the label. Now, this happens at micro level of the society, which is studied by interpretivists. Okay, and this cannot be studied using questionnaires. Okay, using questionnaires we cannot study this. To study these micro level interactions, there are thousands of interactions. Okay, thousands of micro level interactions between people happens on daily basis. We cannot study each of them using questionnaire, using quantitative methods. We can study them only using qualitative methods. For example, say there is a person. Okay, and he's not a rapist, but he was being arrested by the society in a false case, and judge has acquitted him, and judge has said that he is not a rapist, but the still society still consider him as a rapist. Society that person label that person that he is a rapist, even though he has been acquitted by the court. But we find that many a times society consider that person as a rapist. Society label that person as a rapist, but the person is not a rapist in his true life. But what happens if we go for C.H. Cooley's studies? I'm just throwing the term, and the looking glass self. Then according to this study, the rapist person, he will view that how society, he will imagine that how society view him, and he will see that society consider him rapist, but he is not a rapist. So he will say that why not being a rapist? If the society, if he does not rape, even then the society consider him as a rapist. Even then the society treats him as a rapist. Then why not being a rapist? Okay, so in fact he will become what he is being labeled. Okay, this is what self-fulfilling prophecy is. Okay, this is a theory that it says that when there is a there let me explain it here. There is a famous theorem on which this theory is based, known as Thomas theorem. Okay, this theorem says this was given by W.I. Thomas. I'm going into much detail here. The W.I. Thomas, he says that when people define certain things as true, they become true in their consequences. It means that when people define means here label, when people label something as true, even though that thing is not true, even though that person cannot be rapist, but that those things, they become, their consequences will be similar to that label. Okay, so when you label someone as a rapist, when you label someone as a thief, then that person will become thief. Similarly, if you label certain person, there is a guy, there is a student who is not good at good at studying, but if the teacher gives him good marks again and again, even though the student is not doing good in study and the teacher gives him good marks, then the student, it means the teacher has labeled him as a good student, and it is expected that the student, through the theory of self-fulfilling prophecy, he will become a good student. He will think that he is a good student, and over the period of time, he will read and prove that he is a good student. So this is self-fulfilling prophecy. So these are the views of interpretivists. They say that according to the labeling theory, according to the Irving Goffman concept, we cannot study these much details using quantitative techniques. Moreover, this qualitative method is ethical from the perspective that we are empathetic with the people. When we will study in detail the conditions of the people, we will be able to better improve their conditions. Okay. Next point of difference was, okay, so here was the next point was assumption. Okay, assumption. So positivist, what happened? Sorry. So here are positivists. Here are positivists. Sorry. Here are positivists. They gave assumption, and here are non-positivists. I am explaining non-positivists. So non-positivists, their assumption is whether they are interpretivist, whether they are Weberian. Their assumption is that objective reality exists, and second is value neutrality. They use the term value neutrality can be maintained. Value neutrality can be maintained except, they say, accept the choice of topic. Accept the choice of topic. They say that the choice of topic will always be influenced by the individual value, but accept that yes, value neutrality, yes, objectivity can be maintained. And then their premise is, here was premise, their premise was objective understanding of objective reality. Okay, that we will study objectively. Objectively means that we will use quantitative methods, but interpretivists say that our premise is subjective understanding of objective reality. Yes, reality is objective, but we have to study it subjectively using Verstehen methods. Okay, if Weber will say Verstehen method, and they will say qualitative methods that we have to study in detail qualitatively. So these were non-positivists. Now let's begin with the video is very long. Please increase the speed. Okay. So the next is the view of phenomenologist. Phenomenologist. So we will again be dividing that. These are actually not the phenomenologists, these are anti-positivists. Okay, anti-positivists. So in anti-positivist we have two. One is phenomenologist and second is postmodernist. Postmodernist. Okay. So phenomenologists, they say that subject matter is, I will be dealing it with it in in a quick manner. Okay, subject method is construction of reality, that how reality is constructed. This is their subject method. Goal is understanding understanding working of society based on underlying pattern. Okay, underlying pattern of assumption. So what is this? I'm just throwing the terms because time is because I have to go somewhere, and I'm just mentioning the terms. I will explain it later on. Okay, the pattern of assumption, or you can say common sense. Our goal is to study how people make sense of the social world, or how people construct social reality. This is the goal. Okay, then method, what method they will use? Phenomenologists, they use method like documentary method. You just I'm just throwing the term. Okay, documentary method, ethnocentric methodology, ethnomethodological methods, and then conser- conversational conversational analysis. These are some of the examples. Okay, of phenomenologists. What are their assumptions? So assumption is that objective reality does not exist, does not exist, and all reality is socially constructed. Okay, all reality is socially constructed. Now I will explain this when we will be studying the research methodologies. Okay, that is a different topic. In that we will study phenomenology, and in that I will explain it. So their premise is subjective understanding of subjective reality. Okay, this is phenomenology. Now the last one is postmodernism. Now the next point is of postmodernism. So postmodernists, they say that, just 1 second. So the postmodernist, they say that, I will discuss it in brief because we will deal it with later on with in some in other video. So postmodernists say that first they believe the same like phenomenologists, like objective reality does not exist and all reality is socially constructed. Okay. Second, the methodology they mention is the methodology of deconstruction. Deconstruction means that we will visit all the scientific knowledge, whether it is all the scientific knowledge or the sociological knowledge also, that is being given there in the form of laws or truths. We'll visit this and we will prove that this is nothing but stories, but opinions, etc. So there is no ultimate truth. We can never, they say that we can never find the ultimate truth, and whosoever is saying that they have found the ultimate truth, we will deconstruct that knowledge. We will prove that how this knowledge is wrong. Okay? For example, John Derrida, he says that all these scientific theories are meta-narrative. All these so-called scientific theories are sociological theories. What are these? They are meta narratives. Meta narratives means, this means big stories. Okay, they are nothing more than stories. Similarly, another postmodernist was, I'm going to the next slide, he was Lyotard. So he talks about language. He says that when these sociologists or these positivists positivists or scientists, they study, whenever they study, for example, they use quantitative techniques. Whenever they use quantitative techniques, they use language. Okay, they use language. For example, when they make questionnaires, they make these questionnaires using English language or Urdu, some language they will use. Similarly, they will use language in interview. Okay, but Lyotard says that language is itself a social construct. It itself a social construct. It has different meanings to different people. Okay, different meanings to different people. That is, people interpret same word differently. Okay, for example, if you have asked a question in the interview about whether you like this video or not. If I ask you a question, I am doing research on the quality of my video, and I ask a question, you liked my video or not. So you, some of you will say like that you have liked, some of will say that no, we dislike this video. So your concept of like, what is like or what is dislike, it means different to different people. The concept of like, how you interpret liking, the act of liking is different. Okay, so whether a movie is good or bad, good, very good, are excellent, if you are doing a research, positivists are doing a research on it. So the concept of good, sir, the good for one person can be very good for another, and it can be excellent for another. Okay, so another question, for example, we another limitation of language is that we cannot express emotions using language. Okay, so if, for example, if someone is happy, okay, if you are asking a question that are you happy with government scheme, so what is happy? So so one person's happiness can be different from certain other another people person's happiness. Okay, so happiness is an emotion. So a person can be very happy. Okay, so a person can be simply happy. So you cannot, you can, these are subjective terms, you cannot quantify it. Can't be, you cannot quantify these. Okay, so there is, this is a limitation of language. Another limitation of language is that we define things by rule of exception. By rule of exception. Okay, so what is this rule of exception? Say this is a glass. Okay, say this is a glass. Now I have said that this is a glass. Okay, it means this term glass, this is very philosophical interpretation, that this term glass is not explaining what this thing is. Okay, I am, when I say this is a glass, I am simply saying that this is not chair, this is not chair, this is not bed, this is not home. I'm saying that this is nothing else than this thing. Okay. So this thing I am not explaining. When I'm saying this is glass, I am not explaining this glass itself. I'm simply saying that this is not uh, this is not anything else. Okay. For example, this is not sky, this is not chain. I'm meaning this, but I am not explaining the reality itself. Whenever I use the term, I am explaining it by rule of exception. I'm not explaining the thing itself. Okay. So if you are not understanding this, let it go. It's not that much important. Overall, this is the view of postmodernists. Okay. So they are also against positivism. So this was all for today's topic. I hope you have understood. I was very explaining in very, you know, quick and fast manner in the end because I have to go somewhere. So I hope you will forgive me. Thanks very much.